Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Football Now, a YouTube channel where we discuss all the latest goings on in the football world, ordinarily bringing you previews for all the Premier League fixtures, giving our own predictions and talking you through the betting odds. As you can tell, however, by the title of this video, we'll be focusing on Manchester City and what's going on over there. Obviously, we've seen their last three games, three draws, not against the worst teams in the world, but the levels that have been set by Pep Guardiola's side. I think there are eyebrows being raised in the Premier League, wondering what's up with them. Etc. We're going to discuss all of that. Obviously, they drew with Tottenham at the Etihad, 3-3 on Sunday. Late equaliser for Dejan Kulusevski, rescuing a point for Ange Postecoglou, their first point after three consecutive losses themselves. There was a controversial moment at the end of the game as well, with Simon Hooper seemingly giving advantage to Manchester City until Jack Grealish runs through on goal, and then he brings it back bizarrely. I think we touched on that later on in the video. As you can see, I'm joined by Connor. First of all, Connor, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm keeping calm.
You got the heating on in your VAR booth there?
Well, I got to bleed the radiator, so I got to turn it off, wait for it to cool down, get the radiator key, bleed it, and then put them back on and see if that solves the issue.
Yeah, good process. I'm sure, as they say in the VAR hub. Let's get into it then. First of all, what have you made before we get onto the controversy? Like I said, with Manchester City, 3 draws, like I said, 4-4 away at Chelsea, 1-1 at home to Liverpool, and 3-3 at home to Tottenham. Come on, they got Aston Villa away midweek as well, which as games go, I think that's probably right up there as the hardest. Villa's home record is impeccable. It's always been a difficult place to go, Villa Park, regardless of how they're doing, but right now they're flying.
Well, hopefully Man City give them a really tiring game because they've got Arsenal at Villa Park the match after.
Yeah, well, there we go. Villa could be having a big say in the title race. Maybe they're in it themselves. I don't think they are personally. No, you never know. Yeah. Right. First of all, what's your reaction to the last 3 games of Man City? What's your feeling? Being, like I said, the 3 draws, a lot of goals shipped as well.
Well, that would be the concern for me actually. Not just 3 draws, but the amount of goals shipped. I mean, it's 8 goals in 3 games for Manchester City that they've shipped, and that is just unlike them. I mean, we've seen them season after season, you know, not only having the best offensive record, but having the best defensive record as well. So yeah, to ship that many goals, I think would be a concern, especially the Spurs game was at home as well. But I think, you know, City are almost being punished for being too good the previous seasons, because they've set the bar so high that we expect every season them to win the league with 90, 95, even 100 points. You can't keep that up season after season after season. I think they are starting to, you know, I know we spoke about the defensive record, but I think they are starting to miss Kevin De Bruyne. I'm concerned at when he comes back in January, because we are talking about one of the best players the Premier League has ever seen there. So when, you know, even if you have got an unbelievable squad, when you're taking a player like Kevin De Bruyne out of that team for such a long period of time, you know, it is going to have an effect. I think he can control the tempo. He's senior head. He can calm things down. And I think City have lost their heads a little bit. I mean, 3-2 at home against Tottenham. You know, that's when you've just got to shut up shop, park the bus. And I know it's very anti-Pep football, but you know, you've got to do what you got to do. I mean, there was leading the Chelsea game right until late, and they conceded. There was leading Liverpool. You know, they were leading all these games until late, and then conceded. I mean, that's poor management. That's poor game management. You do not expect that from a Man City side, to be leading for so long in the game and then to concede right at the end. So, yeah, I think that would be a concern for Pep. He's not one to throw his players under the bus in a post-match presser, but I'm sure he would be speaking to his players quite sternly, especially seniors players as well, just to try and fix that issue, try and get him to manage the games more. I don't think there'll be any panic. I mean, obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan. You're a Liverpool fan. I don't know how you feel of it, but I still feel like Manchester City are favourites, even though Arsenal are top of the league. Liverpool, obviously, in second place. But yeah, I feel like, you know, still looking at the overall picture, City, I still think, do have the best squad. They obviously have the most experience at winning things. I do feel like Liverpool and Arsenal are both still lacking a little bit in terms of pushing towards the title. So yeah, I don't think there'll be any concern at Manchester City, but certainly there's a little bit of a reason for optimism. And I think if Arsenal can repeat the season at last season, I mean, I know they sort of fell off towards the end, but I think they fell off because the title race was over. For example, the Nottingham Forest lost. That doesn't happen if the title race is on. So yeah, I think if they can repeat the season that they had last season, I think they really could win the league. 85 points, I think, could be enough to win the league. I know Arteta was saying yesterday that it would take 100 points to win this league. I mean, you don't really think that. He's just saying that, But yeah, it's at least it makes it interesting, People are bored of City walking away with it. I mean, I think even though City still won it last season, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because there was another new name when Liverpool were competing. It was interesting. There was another new name because City winning are just boring unless you're a Manchester City fan. So yeah, it certainly makes it interesting.
Yeah, before we go on to the next topic, I agree. I think the concern is as well. They looked quite, I wouldn't say toothless, but they didn't seem to have that killing edge to kill the game in the 3 games that we've seen. That with Liverpool last week, they didn't create loads of chances, but like you said, they led for a long period. And normally, what Man City are like, especially you can't just blame it on Erling Haaland. He's one player and he's still having a ridiculous season. He's the Premier League's top scorer, but you thought, would they find that second and third goal to put the game away against Tottenham? They certainly had it. At the end of that at the end of that first half, rather, I know Tottenham go 1-0 up, City turn it around, but Haaland missed a sitter, and there were chances to make it 3 or 4-1. And I think on another day, Spurs do go in a couple of goals behind at half time. But in the second half, then we've become accustomed to City really coming out and killing the game and really putting teams to the sword, as we say. And it wasn't there. And I think they kind of encouraged Spurs back into the game. I think they did the same with Liverpool as well. Chelsea, the same. They almost encourage these teams to come on and take them on. And Tottenham, they enjoyed real good spells for a lot of that second half. A lot of credit goes to them as well, and Ange Postecoglou, especially on the back of 3 consecutive defeats, to stick to the game plan and to maintain that progressive approach at the home of the champions. It's a risk, and it was a risk which, like I said, on another day it could have really blown up in their face because the way they were messing around with it at the back at times, I don't know, it's strange. Having said all that, like you said, moving on to the next segment, I think it is almost a victim of their own success. Manchester City, I think, I don't know about you, Connor, but it feels like we have this conversation about them every time in November and December, and then they end up going on a ridiculous winning streak and blow the league, blow everyone else out the water and end up winning by 6, 7, 8 points come the end of the season. I agree with you that right now, if you were to ask me who wins the league, I'd say it Manchester City, and I'd probably still say it with a degree of confidence. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see Liverpool do it. And if I had to choose between City and Arsenal, I'd like to see Arsenal do it. Because like you said, you want to see different teams winning it. I think it's good for the Premier League to see that, to say that. And that's the case, not just because it's Manchester City. It's the same when Man United were winning it consistently in the past. You just want to see different teams just for an entertainment value, don't you? But is it not just possible as well with Man City that they might just be feeling the effect of playing all those games last year? They won the treble, of course, but that means that they went the distance in all those competitions. There's this myth about Manchester City over the last 3 or 4 years that they got a massive squad. They haven't. If you look at their squad, it's not that big. It's expensive, but it's not massive. I don't think they have a natural left back in their squad. They've got Gvardiol, who's a centre back from Leipzig, playing left back for them. They've had Nathan Ake there in the past. I think Akanji's played in the full back position at times for them as well. So, like I said, I can understand why, because it's a talking point, isn't it? And this is why we're doing it right now. And I'm sure Pep Guardiola and everyone at the Manchester City, the coaching staff, will be having conversations because they won't want this to continue. Of course they won't. And like I said, they've got a hard game away at Villa, who are flying right now. And they've got a great record, Villa, a home record this season. But like you said, I think it is becoming victims of their own success. I remember, I think it was the COVID year, where Liverpool were leading at Christmas, and there was talk of Manchester City being out of the title race in October, November, and they ended up winning that by a ridiculous amount of points in the end. I think with Liverpool and Arsenal, we've both seen signs this season which are encouraging. Like you said, what Arsenal did last season, for example. But I think if you were to say Arsenal are going to win the league, and if I was to say Liverpool are going to win the league, we're kind of staying it with our heart still, and we want to see it. But I think, I don't know, logic points that this Manchester, like you said, look where they are. They're 3 points off top in December. It's hardly a travesty in it, and they still got the best player in the league to come back, in Kevin De Bruyne. Like, it's not a bad issue to have, is it? I think, I don't know. Like I said, it seems at every point this year, every point of the year in November, in December, we discuss, what's wrong with Man City? What's going wrong? Fast forward to May, and they enter the month going like 5 or 6 points clear. It just, I think we'd have to see a lot more, and we need a lot more evidence before I even consider that they're not at the same level which they have been. And I don't think, like you said as well, even that level's been so ridiculously high. Even if there is a little bit of a drop off, doesn't necessarily mean they're not still able to win in the league, because of the high levels that they've been competing at now for 4, 5, 6 years under Pep. Having said that, going on to the Villa game, they will be without key players, especially Rodri. He picked up his 5th yellow card, as did Jack Grealish at the weekend. So they are suspended. I think that it's no secret, is it? Manchester City are a completely different side when they don't have Rodri in the middle of the park. We saw it when he got sent off early in the season. They missed him. I think it was at Wolves where he wasn't there, and they lost. So they are a completely different side. And like I mentioned, Aston Villa. How can you not? I think they drew at Bournemouth at the weekend, which is a result which I'm sure they'll be disappointed with. But this season they've been incredible. They've beaten Tottenham away a couple of weeks ago with their home records. Ridiculous. And I think if you're a Manchester City fan, you will be a little bit nervous, thinking, oh God, we've got to go there now on the back of 3 draws, by the way. Not lost, but 3 draws. And what are you thinking? What do you think the thinking will be from the City perspective heading into this game at Villa Park?
Well, obviously, they'll be thinking of 3 points. They won't be thinking of anything else. But yeah, I think losing Rodri is it's a huge loss. You mentioned it when they lost him this season due to suspension. They had a really poor run of results there. They really missed him. They lost to Wolves, lost to Arsenal there. So I think it'll be really, really difficult. I think things need to change. I think they need to be a tiny bit more pragmatic in this game, because, and I'm sure Pep is going to respect Aston Villa and Unai Emery. Unai is an elite manager. He's seen what Aston Villa can do. Aston Villa will punish Manchester City if they are off it. If they allow them to play football, then Aston Villa will score goals. And I think sometimes we've been a little bit critical when teams come up against Manchester City. You can't just put 10 men behind the ball and expect just to take a 0-0, because they will find the back of the net. Teams have to go forward. They have to commit plays. They have to try and take the risk and punish Manchester City. Aston Villa will do that. So it's. I mean, we've not made a prediction video for the midweek games. We are going to do our predictions off camera, but I'm already thinking here. I might even side with a draw, just because I think. I think there will be goals in the game. I think. Yeah, I know that you mentioned that we expect City to sort of after January just plough onwards like they have done in previous seasons. But I feel like in previous seasons, when maybe they have dropped points, they've still been playing well.
Yeah,
I feel like it's different this time. I feel like the performances just aren't there. They aren't playing as well. And maybe it is an accumulation of the games they were playing last season. I mean, players don't get time off now in the summer, do they? Let's be honest. There's so many different competitions, internationals, and seasons tend to go on so late. But and also that they're playing a lot more minutes because of this stupid added time thing. If you accumulate that throughout the season, that is a lot of extra minutes that you are playing. So that could have a factor as well. This is going to be a really interesting game. I think Aston Villa, they will just go for it. I think they really will just go for it. And if they can beat Manchester City, then all of a sudden they go ahead of them, and they could go within 1 point off the top. I mean, I said that Aston Villa aren't going to compete for the Premier League. Still believe they won't compete for the Premier League, but if they can comfortably get Champions League football, I mean, I'm looking at the table. Newcastle are surging forward, and I think they will be putting up a good fight. I think I've maintained from the start of the season, this whole Ange Postecoglou's title chasing Spurs, what a load of old pony that is. I don't think Tottenham were ever in the top 4 Premier League, and I actually think them getting top 4 will be tough this season because they will start to miss Harry Kane. You know, they've done well this season, fair enough, but they will start to miss Harry Kane. And I think I've seen enough from the teams around Tottenham to say that they really could be the ones to get in that Champions League places. I think Newcastle are a better side than Tottenham. I think Aston Villa are a better side from Tottenham. And then, well, I think those top 6 really are going to make up the top 4. I can't see anyone outside of those breaking into it. Chelsea certainly are. Brighton seems to have really fallen off. They seem to be struggling for points now. What the fuck, Manchester United 7th? Honestly, minus 1 goal difference, sitting in 7th. They just get away with it, don't they? They'll play well. They'll play poorly, and they'll nick a late goal to get themselves out of it. You think of Scott McTominay against Brentford, for example, 2 late goals to overturn a 1-0 loss into a 2-1 victory. I know they lost against Newcastle, but Newcastle battered them, and Manchester United nearly nicked a point at the end. I don't know how they keep getting away with it, but it's not sustainable. Even in the Champions League, think of Copenhagen and missing a late penalties. They just keep getting away with it, but they are the worst team. I mean, in 6th place, Newcastle, they've got a plus 18 goal difference, and then 2 points behind them, Man United, minus 1 goal difference. It's crazy, isn't it? They've scored 16 goals. And the teams that are above and below them, one has scored 32, the other one has scored 30. How bad is that? I mean, 16 Premier League goals. Burnley have scored 15. Everton have scored 15. Bournemouth have scored 16. Nottingham Forest have scored 16. Luton have scored 13. That's bad, isn't it? Oh, my God, it winds me up.
Yeah, they will get found. I mean, they're being found out, but every time they step up, they do get beat. It's just against some of the smaller sides. They manage to nick the odd win, like you said, a narrow win. I think that could be a separate video in itself. It could be an hour-long video of Man United, what's going on over there, and I'd love to talk about it more because I'm a Liverpool fan and I'm enjoying every minute of it. But sticking back to Man City on the Spurs game, I'm sure there'll be City fans screaming at the screen if we didn't mention those final minutes. If you haven't seen it, with the scores at 3-3, Man City, of course, they're at home, they're chasing, they're trying to get a late winner. Erling Haaland picks up the ball on the halfway line. He's taken out by, I can't remember who it was for Spurs, but he's taken out. He gets back up. The referee plays advantage. He plays a ball, left-footed pass in behind Spurs. Jack Grealish is running through on goal in the moment. And bizarrely, Simon Hooper, for what example, despite playing the advantage just moments earlier, brings it back. I couldn't believe it. I think I messaged you, Conor, we have a WhatsApp group, and I was rolling on the floor because I just could not believe what had happened. It's just bizarre. I think you were similar as well, that you couldn't quite get your head around it. But do you want to talk us through what your reaction and what you were thinking when you were watching that?
I don't understand what's happened. I mean, Erling Haaland was fuming. I'm sure we've all seen that photo off.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mad. And then he retweeted the video on Twitter with WTF, which stands for what the fuck, I believe. But it's mad. I don't understand it. Yeah, I mean, exactly as you say. He takes the ball on the halfway line. He gets taken out. Erling Haaland's a beast, so he does what every beast does. He gets back up on his feet. Simon Hooper, he's doing that. He's giving it that. So he's playing an advantage. He plays the ball over. Jack Grealish, by the way, way onside. Linesman keeps his flag down. Ball comes over the top. Grealish wrong goal. Simon Hooper pulls it back. I mean, Erling Haaland, he don't know what to do with himself. He's beside himself. I'm sat in a pub with the TV sound off. I'm thinking, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on. I'm getting my phone up to have a look after the game because I'm trying to work out. I don't know what his thought process was. Now, Dermot Gallagher, idiot. I don't know what it is about bald people this season, but they don't seem to have it. I don't know whether they're losing the brains as well as the hair. But he goes on Sky Sports News and he says, yes, it was a mistake, but I hate it. I hate it when I hear the word but, because you can't defend the indefensible. And he says, I'm trying to suppress a sneeze. He says that, well, actually, there's no letter in the law to say that you have to play advantage. Now, you can't listen. if you're a referee, you have to have a bit of common sense, okay? Don't try and defend him saying, well, he don't have to do it. Listen, he did do it. That is the thing. He did do it. And then he changed his mind. When City had the advantage, he changed his mind. I mean, the annoying thing about the situation is that we don't know what went through Simon Hooper's head. Now, that is the issue. And we've said it so many times before, but the referees need to come out and post-match, and they need to explain the key points just to let us know what their thought process was. Because at least we could disagree with it, but at least we know in their own mind what the justification was. Now, after this horrendous decision, you've got Manchester City as a club who have been fined because they've not controlled the players. So, I mean, they'll get fined for that, but not 115 FFP charges where everything got a points deduction.
Wait for it.
You know, but and Erling Haaland himself as an individual has been fined. Yet Simon Hooper, nothing will happen to Simon Hooper. Or if something does happen, he'll get demoted to the Championship for one game, and then he'll do back-to-back Super Sundays, because that's what seems to happen in this little boys' club that they call Premier League PGMOL. It's even if you put these refs in front of a camera with preset questions, they're not taking questions, right? They've got preset questions, and they're just reading it from a bit of paper, so they're not under any pressure. Just reading from a bit of paper these pre-answered questions about what was going through their minds, so we can at least understand the logic, the brain processes. But as it stands, nobody has a clue what Simon Hooper was thinking. I don't think Simon Hooper was thinking. I don't know whether he had £10 on 3-3. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know, because he's no one's fault. There's no culpability in the Premier League. This has been the worst season for officiated in the Premier League, and that is saying something. And then last week we get the stupid idea of sin bins being tried in professional football. That is, I was having this discussion in the pub with the sound off on the TV because we couldn't hear anything, so we decided to talk instead. And we were saying, well, I was saying they didn't agree with me, but they're bastards. I was saying that if the Premier League officials can't get this right, how are they going to get a sin bin right? Because that is so subjective.
Yeah.
How are they going to decide that's 5 minutes off the pitch or that's 10 minutes off the pitch? I mean, that's just not a little bit of a punishment. That is a lot. I mean, if you're playing against Manchester City or Arsenal with 10 men or 10 minutes, that is a long time to be without a player. Hence why Jose Mourinho kicked off at that physio for taking Eden Hazard off the pitch for 30 seconds. Because a player being off the pitch for any length of time really makes a huge difference. And it's just crazy. And it will also kill the game of football, because say a player goes to the sin bin, what's going to happen? They're going to shut up shop, they're going to park the bus, 9 men behind the ball, and it's just going to be kicking round the back, long bolt cleared, hoof it up forward. It's just going to kill the game of football. And then what do you do to decide? Okay, well, let's do sin bins, go to VAR. Also great. So there's more breaks in the game. So what we are Americanizing the sport of football, where there are so many breaks that actually in 20 years' time you're going to get 25-stone honkers playing football because you don't need any energy to play it anymore, just like in the NFL. It's mad. The game of football is dead. I'm falling out of love with it. I'm falling out of love. Arsenal are in a Premier League title race, and I feel like I can't enjoy it because I just watching football now. I just want to tear my hair out, and at least I've got hair, unlike Simon Hooper or Anthony Taylor or Eric Ten Hag or all these people who keep seemingly making the wrong decisions. No logic behind them, and they don't come out and explain. There's no culpability, and that is the key issue. And it winds me up. It honestly winds me up. If I do something wrong in my job, I have to explain myself. Why don't they have to do the same? They get defended. Actually, they get defended.
Yeah, it's crazy. You mentioned that Dermot Gallagher. Sky put out a lot of good content. I do not understand the point in that segment because he's been doing that how many years now? I can probably think of 2 or 3 occasions where he's actually gone against the referee. What is the point? It's just PR. So what's
he's
the point?
The scout leader in the little boys club. That's all it is.
It's crazy, like you said. What happened at the weekend with the Simon Hooper thing, if it wasn't part of the wider context, like you said, of all the controversy this season. What we're on now, we're Tuesday. We're on Tuesday afternoon. By tomorrow, we've forgotten about it and we've moved on. But there's probably going to be another incident tonight, which we'll be talking about. But it's a bigger context, like you've said, and the sin bin thing. Why are you adding more? Making a situation which you clearly are struggling to get a hold of. Why are you making it even more complicated for themselves? It's crazy. Like it's like they're digging their own grave. Like you said, it's so subjective. You're opening yourself to more criticism. Try and get your house in order first before you're trying to build an extension on it. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's a strange, bizarre. Like you said, football right now is weird. I struggle watching a lot of it. I watched the game on Sunday and I did enjoy it, but like the Champions League matches, I've only watched a couple of them because, like I said, I don't want to sit there. All we're talking about is VAR. PSG, Newcastle,
and you're not in the Champions League as well.
And Liverpool. Okay, thank you. You got that. Have you got that in there? But yeah, Thursday night's where it's at. But like you said, we had it with PSG and Newcastle last week. Anyone watching that see it's common sense. It is common sense. It's not a penalty. It's clear. It's hit his chest, hits his arm. He's running. Your arm's going to be up here when you're running. That should be the end of the situation. But no, they had to overcomplicate it. So if there is anything to take from that, it's not just the Premier League, because the whole of Europe is an absolute shambles.
And that makes a difference at the moment in the table between Newcastle being top and Newcastle being outside of the top two. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what oil money can do with referees, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. But like you said, the implications of these decisions...
Newcastle, isn't it? Sorry, I've just realised where Newcastle's money's coming from. I can't say that no more. It doesn't really work, that argument, does it?
Point stands. But we've mentioned, obviously, we did a video on the Spurs-Liverpool game, the implications that could have on Liverpool, the implications this could have on City if they end up losing the league by a point. Look, no one knows if Grealish would have ran through and scored. No one knows if there was a defender tracking him, if he'd have got across and got that. I doubt it. I don't think he would have, personally. Who knows? But like there's more noise about it, like I said, because of the wider context of just how dreadful the officiating has been. It seems like every single week in our WhatsApp group we said we can do a VAR video this week. We can do a VAR video this week. Or we can do another one, because it's every single weekend. And then if you want to add sin bins on top of that, why? Whose idea is that? It's crazy. It doesn't make sense.
It's a bold guy's idea.
That's it. There you go. I'll leave you for the bold scan to keep this in the bold man. We're still going to be losing all our subscribers. But
losing your hair.
Yeah. But anyway, like you said there, you mentioned City have been fined and Haaland has been fined for his reaction. Probably rightly so. I understand why he reacted.
All he's done is that. Come on.
He was screaming in his face. And from a Liverpool perspective, I want to see consistency, because Virgil van Dijk got had a game added to his suspension, had a hefty fine against Newcastle. So, look, I understand that. But again, like you said, I think there'd be a lot more understanding if there was more transparency with the referee's decisions. Like, I remember... I don't know whether it's even a demoted thing. I think there's just a cycle where sometimes the referee goes down to the Championship for a weekend. But there was one where Anthony Taylor had a stinker in the Premier League. The next weekend, he goes down to the Championship. I think it was a Preston game. And he had an absolute nightmare then. He gave it was a terrible decision which impacted the game. And he was back the next week. I think it might have been Chelsea Man City. It was a big game anyway.
It was, yeah.
And you're like, who's thinking this up? Like, did you see he was the fourth official on Sunday. Did you see his face? Like, he knew.
He knew that he would have to defend his fellow bold friend, and then it was, how can you defend the indefensible? But actually, that is another issue. I find it strange, because if you're refereeing a game with VAR, you are refereeing it differently. You can't help but referee differently. So to ask someone to referee a game without VAR in the Championship, then go to the Premier League with it's a different game. You can't ask him to do that. The whole thing just needs to change. I was actually happy, because it's quite clear that we need a pool of referees, a good pool, grow the pool of referees in this country from grassroots level. Make sure that they're learning the ropes from a really young age. They've got a full head of hair. And I was thinking that actually you could even do a university course, even if it's just VAR officials, because at the moment, they all seem to be old fogies who don't seem to understand the game. They don't, and I know
Yeah.
there's been a talk that recruiting referees at grassroots levels has been difficult. I would introduce it, or even if it's just a VAR, I would introduce it as a possible university course, and you would get so many more people taking it up. And I'm sure the FA could subsidise that as well. I mean, they've got enough bloody money.
Yeah, I think the Premier League did include in their statement after the Spurs Liverpool controversy that they are increasing training with VAR or something. I don't know how long's VAR been in this country now, 4 or 5 years. I don't know how long that's going to take. I think we made that.
Just all fuck that, you know. I mean, what does that mean actually? Increasing training. Tell us exactly how the steps you are doing, right? I mean, for all I know, that could just be a 15-minute how-to video that they've emailed them to an inbox. I mean,
Yeah.
what does it mean? No one knows, because once again, it comes down to the point that there's no clarity. There's no communication there. We're being treated like mugs.
Yeah, I think we're all sick of. Gary O'Neill made the point of Wolves. Wolves have been on the receiving end of some awful decisions this year, and I've got so much sympathy with him. Thankfully, they don't look like going to be down there in that relegation scrap because, like he said, after the Fulham game, I think there were 3 or 4 decisions in that match which went against them. You're like, what? You can understand maybe 1 or 2, but 4? And he approached the referee. I think the referee at halftime apologized and said, "Oh, sorry, I got that wrong." But he said, "Well, that's no consolation to me. We lost the game. I've got a job. It's a hard enough job as it is." And like we can think of many. There was one against United right at the start of the season. They've had a few clangers against Wolves. But I think we're also sick of the apologies, like he said there, and we're also sick of seeing Howard Webb go on Sky Sports and on any other broadcasters with Michael Owen, Gary Neville, and Jamie Carragher.
It's a gold one as well. There's a theme. I'm telling you, there's a theme. There's a correlation there.
Yeah, and it's just PR, and they'll. I can't remember if it was at the start of this season or the end of last season. They had like a highlight package of these 4 or 5 decisions which made the VARs look brilliant. And you think, yeah, you've got them right, but what about the 15 or 20 that you've left out conveniently?
Yeah, Sky's in the back pocket of PGMOL. I told you a few weeks ago, I heard from a former Premier League official that 2 people at Sky have been told by PGMOL to ease up on referees. And now we see the staunch defence of Gary Neville, of Michael Owen. I'm telling you, it's all one big boys club. It really is.
Yeah. But it's insulting our intelligence that they think they can sit there and defend it. We can all see what's going on. Look, I'm not saying it's corrupt. It's just if it's incompetence, but when that's the good alternative, I think it's kind of worrying. I've had this conversation about boxing with judging and officiating, and we've said, "Oh, is it corruption or is it incompetence?" And then you kind of say with like a hopeful tone, "Oh, it's just incompetence." Like that's a good thing. Like it's worrying the amount of money in this league. Yeah, there you go. He's been holding that sneeze a while. But anyway, we have gone off topic a little bit. We're focusing on Manchester City. In conclusion, I think we both concede. Yeah, okay, it's not been a great.
I think it's clear that City's problems lie at the heart that Pep is bald.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. Oh God, I hope Klopp doesn't shave his head. Yeah, if Klopp maintains, Arteta's got a good head of hair. I think you'll be winning the next.
Oh, we're winning the league for about 20 years now, as long as that hair stays there.
Yeah, you're all good. Anyway, apologies again to any people out there who are bold that have watched this video.
Follically challenged, I think, is the term we have to use now.
Yeah, follically challenged on behalf of Connor. I apologise. But yeah, in conclusion, I think we both concede that Man City, while there are maybe a few signs that we're going to have to see a lot more before we're convinced that there's going to be any kind of drop off in terms at the top of the Premier League. Thank you for watching this video. You can go and check out. We've just done a reaction video as well to Sheffield United sacking Paul Heckingbottom and replacing him with Chris.
Really hair raising stuff. That one you should give it a watch.
Here we go. He's got his puns out again. I'm not even going to feed it. I refuse to feed it. I'm going to comb over that one.
Here we go.
Right. Apologies, everyone. We will see you in the next video. You can check out all of our channels down below, which I'll put a link in the description for those. Sorry, you can check out all our other videos as well, including that Sheffield United video I just spoke about there. There'll be previews coming at some point this week for all the games this weekend. We'll be doing our predictions off camera for the midweek fixtures. We didn't have time to do the previews for them. But yeah, let us know all your thoughts.
Sean Dyche get a point deduction if he's got hair. I don't know, you know.
Possibly. It might have only been 3 or 4 if he had
yeah, I think so.
Their appeals going to fail on that basis. I think. Sorry, Sean, you've got You're bold.
I just need to buy a wig, and that's it sorted.
That's it. There you go. I have to go to that fancy dress shop on Bold Street in Liverpool. There we go. Queuing out the door there, and they'll be fine. But thank you again, and sorry again to any Quality Challenge people. We will see you in the next video. Like I said, we'll be doing our predictions off camera for the midweek fixtures, and we'll see how we look in our head-to-head predictor this time next week. See you in the next one.